Hi, my name is Shelly Campbell, and I'm here at the Celtic Music Interpretive Centre in Judic, Nova Scotia, and I'm here to share a little about our local fiddling tradition. The centre here in Judic has a mandate to collect, preserve, and promote the traditional Celtic music of Cape Breton Island through education, research, and performance. The Gaels came here roughly 200 years ago, and they settled throughout Cape Breton and in particular eastern Nova Scotia, and with them they brought their traditions, their beliefs, their music, their dance, and their language. In some communities, regional styles and dialects of both the language and the music continue to this day. For example, the Mabou coal mines area has a particular style of Cape Breton fiddling, and then Iona, or maybe down towards Sydney, they might have a slightly different stylistic element to their playing. But really, it's all the same thing rooted in the Gaelic language and musical traditions that were brought here 200 years ago, speckled with influences from other cultural groups like the Acadians, Irish, and Mi'kmaq. So we'll share some tunes and some music and some of the stylistic elements that have become interwoven into our music. So I guess we'll start with talking about a few of the tune types we play here in Cape Breton and in eastern Nova Scotia. These tune types would be found in other fiddle traditions throughout the world, I'm sure. There are a few, though, that might be a little bit more distinct to the Cape Breton style. So we'll start with our slow airs and waltzes. Just like many genres, we have those. I'll play a little piece of one called Mogarchi, or My Home. It's actually a Gaelic song that we play here more as a waltz. We'll pick up the tempo a little bit and we'll play a march. Marches are traditionally played here as part of MSR groups, March Strasbourg Reel groups. So these are kind of a nice, livelier start to a group, but still at a slower tempo. From there, we typically turn into Strasbourgs, and Strasbourgs are the most distinct of the Cape Breton types of tunes that we play. They, of course, came from Scotland and are played in some areas of Ireland, particularly Donegal. But we definitely play them with our own kind of, I guess, rhythm to it. It's a very choppy rhythm, or a snap. So I'll play a little piece of a favorite around these parts called King George. From there, we typically head into the fastest tempo type, which are the reels. And the reels almost have a horse gallop-like feel to them. Strasbourgs and reels are two types of tunes that are often danced to in the solo dance tradition here in Cape Breton. A little piece of a reel. And from there, we'll head into the jigs. Jigs are really lively. You can say jiggity, 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 jig to a jig. They're 6/8 time, and we use them around here particularly for the square dances. Little piece of one called The Hills of Glenarchy. And we do play some clogs and some hornpipes. Those are kind of the prettier tunes or the dainty tunes, and also they often have, I should say, a lot of little triplets in them. So then we take all those tunes and we start to put our own flavor on them. When you learn a tune as a musician, basically you're given the skeleton and it's up to you to decorate it the way you like. If you put too many decorations on a tune, it can look, or sound, I should say, a bit tacky maybe. Or if you don't put enough decorations on a tune, maybe it could sound a bit boring. But each fiddler really picks what embellishments they want to use, and that becomes part of their style. So I'll just take a second and I'll show you a few of those embellishments or ornaments that we use in our music here. We can do embellishments with our bow, things like cuts. We also do slurs with the bow, which is a series of notes all on one bow. We're stringing a bunch of notes on one bow. We do different embellishments with the bow as well, called drones. Drones are when we play two strings at the same time, and we're really trying to mimic the Gaelic language and the pipe sound, or the sound of the pipe, the drones behind the pipes when we make these kind of sounds on the fiddle. So in King George there, I rhymed or droned the two strings together, rather than playing them a bit cleaner. We do all kinds of little gracings. A really Gaelic-y, I guess pipey sounding one would be where we use our fourth finger on one string and we play the open string above it, creating a doubling sound. And we often flick our first finger to create like a pipe gracing. And when you take all those embellishments and flavors and you put them on the fiddle to dress up a tune, we call that the bloss, or the flavor of the tune. It really can make quite a difference in how a tune comes across to your listener. I'll play a tune, little piece of a tune straight or without any embellishments, and then I'll put a bunch of this flavoring into it, which we often refer to as the dirt in the music, so that you can see the difference. Play that with a little bit more flavor. So the next thing we should probably talk about, once you have the tune types down, is the lift or the swing that we put into the music, and that's what really encourages the dancers to get up to dance. A fast player is not necessarily a lively player, and I think that's a really important distinction to make. It's important to put little emphasis on certain notes with your bow in order to create more of a pulse or a driving rhythm in the music. Give you a little example of a tune played kind of straight, fast, without really any swing to it. As opposed to So while we're talking about tunes, I'll talk a little bit about repertoire. Repertoire are the tunes that we play. Many of them would have come over with early Gaelic settlers, and those tunes we call Porstabil. And Porstabil is the Gaelic for mouth music. These are tunes that would be sung and then later adopted by playing them on the fiddle and the pipes. I'll sing a little bit of a Porstabil for you, and I'll also diddle it so you can hear how that sounds as well, and then I'll try and play the same tune on the fiddle. This one is called Cotamor Awasach, Elizabeth's Big Coat. Ha Cotamor Awasach around and yin and healer, ha Cotamor Awasach around a dollar faucet, Cotamor Awasach around and yin and healer, Cotamor Awasach around a dollar faucet, dee dump a die, heedle dumpy heedle dilly high, dee dump a die, heedle dump a haddy heddle die, dee dump a die, heedle dumpy dee dilly high, heddle dump a die, heedle dump a haddy heddle dum. So somebody would have sung that maybe to a child that was learning, and then they might take that and learn it on the fiddle. On the fiddle, that same tune would sound like this. So like any musical tradition, there's a little bit of etiquette that would be important to follow. As a musician, I always want to be respectful of the tradition bearers that came before me by giving them their turn to play, by listening to their music, by hearing what they have to offer in their music and adopting it onto my own instrument. And then there's little subtleties too, like at the dances, if you get up to show a few steps, maybe don't show them all, maybe just pick a few of your favorites. And probably the biggest one people take note of is the tapping of our toes rather than the clapping of our hands. And I'm not really sure the reason for that, but the tapping of the toes doesn't draw, I guess, away from the music so that people can really listen to the different sounds and styles of the fiddlers. And those sounds and styles are very distinct. Many of our local listeners, our people who really love the music, can identify a musician within seconds of hearing a few notes. So if you're interested in this music or you're wanting to learn more about it, the best way is to listen to it. The best musicians are the ones that spend a lot of time listening to all those great recordings that are out there and really getting in tune with the repertoire and the styles of the different musicians. And if you ever have a chance to get to Cape Breton, I highly encourage you to immerse yourself in the dance scene, in the pub and ceilidh scene, and if you can, try and get yourself to a house party because that's where the most fun and the best music always happens.